You aren't being canceled. Your writing just sucks. All right, let's get this out of the way right up front. You can write whatever you want to. The people whining about being canceled or not being able to write what they want are misleading themselves. They can write whatever they want. They're complaining about the response to their work, both by publishers and by their readers. And they're getting that response because it's bad writing. Look, if someone said they were canceled just because they can't spell or use grammar, or not able to write what they want because there's no character development or plot or descriptions in their work, you'd laugh. And rightfully so. The same thing applies here. Just because you write it doesn't mean that anyone has an obligation to publish it. Just because you write it sure doesn't mean that a reader has an obligation to like it. This is explicitly about the quality of your writing as well. When you use stereotypes or cliches or inaccurately portray someone of a different race, gender, sexuality, religion, culture, whatever, then it's bad writing. It breaks the immersion of the reader in your story. If you said that the strawberry jam tasted like iron, somebody would go, "What the hell?" The same thing applies here. This is especially true when you're a genre writer. That is, you're writing in science fiction, fantasy, or horror. Because not only are we wanting people to be able to immerse themselves in a story about the world around us, but we're wanting them to immerse themselves in and believe in a story that is inherently unbelievable. We're writing about people on starships, about elves, or facing some, tentacle-laden eldritch horror. And those things aren't in the real world, but we want our readers to be immersed in it and to accept that as the world, at least while they're reading our story. It is our job as authors to produce a believable representation of someone else's thoughts and actions. And the devil's in the details. You've probably heard the advice to use all 5 senses on the first page of your story. If not, you're welcome. It's good advice because it quickly helps immerse your reader in the story and makes it more real to them. In real life, people don't all think the same way. And I don't just mean like they come to different conclusions. I mean, they literally think differently. People have different histories. They have different experiences. They have different ways of understanding the world and different motives. The more that your characters have this kind of complexity and richness, the more real your story will be to the reader. But again, the devil is in the details. And that means research. To accurately portray a character, you must understand that character, their experiences, and motivations. That means research. Not just secondary research, not just what you've been told or what you've read on Wikipedia or what you learned from TV or, God forbid, the news. That means actually going and getting to know and understand those people, the culture, religion, whatever, yourself. To getting to know those people as people and understanding it. When your details are stereotypes, cliches, or worse, just wrong, then it's bad writing. Maybe that means that story doesn't need to show up. Look, I'm assuming that if you're watching this or if you read the blog that you're a professional, that your concern is on making the story as good as possible. And that's where the rubber really hits the road here. Because if you're writing a bad story, don't you want it to be better? Don't you want it to connect with more readers? Don't you want it to be able to be appreciated instead of having your readers having to stop all the time and going, "Wait, what?" Because you've gotten things wrong or your characters are all just cardboard cutouts. I'm not immune from this. I mean, nobody is. There's a story I wrote about a decade or so ago that I've never submitted anywhere. And I won't submit it anywhere. It's not because I don't like the story. I actually really love the story. And I especially love the characters, Mark and Sylvia. both of whom are parts of the LGBTQIA plus community. And when I showed that story to friends of mine and acquaintances who are in that community, they universally panned my characters. It wasn't that the characters weren't fun. They all reassured me, no, these are fun characters. The banter was great. But they came across as inauthentic. They came across as a straight guy trying to write gay characters, or, when he'd only seen them on TV, which unfortunately was true. True about my writing. And that's why that story is sat in my trunk file. And it's not because I'm scared to submit it or have it published, not because I'm canceled or worried about being canceled. No, it's because it's bad writing. I went and I realized that it would not convey the truth of these characters, the story that I wanted to tell accurately, that it would blow people out of the story because I was getting it wrong. And I'm enough of a professional to admit that. And that's why it's sat in my trunk file. Maybe someday I will be able to have Mark and Sylvia show up somewhere, or I'll rewrite the story with more sensitivity, or maybe they'll just live in my head. But I'm not going to put out something that I know is bad writing just because I'm fond of it, or fond of those characters. The story deserves better than that. And again, it's all about the writing.